Kim Davis is back, this time asking the Supreme Court to erase same-sex marriage protections. The Supreme Court has received a formal petition from Kim Davis, a former Kentucky County clerk, asking justices to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, the 2015 ruling that legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. Davis, who was jailed in 2015 for defying court orders and refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples, is appealing a $100,000 jury verdict granted for emotional damages, plus an additional $260,000 in attorney's fees. Her petition argues that her actions are protected under the First Amendment Free Exercise Clause and contends that the Obergefell decision was egregiously wrong.
10 years after the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex marriage across the United States, it could now be overturned. All right, give us the deal, Devin. Who is actually asking the justices to overturn this?
Well, in recent years, Kira, we've been waiting for a case like this as some of the sentiment in the country has started to shift a little bit, soften rather, against same-sex marriage. There's been a lot of talk about whether the justices would get a chance to reconsider the case. And as you said there, they are getting that opportunity next month. We've learned that Kim Davis, she's that Kentucky clerk from back in 2015 that was at the center of international controversy when she refused to issue marriage licenses to a gay couple in Kentucky in defiance of the Supreme Court. She spent 6 days in jail. She lost a defamation suit. She had to pay $100,000 in damages, $260,000 in legal fees. That's what she's appealing to the Supreme Court. But it's the first time, Kira, that anyone has technically asked the justices explicitly to overturn Obergefell v. Hodges, which was that landmark ruling. And she does just that. Her counsel in this petition, which was filed last week, says that decision was egregiously wrong. And if that sounds familiar, that's the same type of argument that was made by opponents of abortion when they sought to overturn Roe versus Wade just a few years ago. So a lot of eyes on this petition. It's unclear whether the court will take it up, but certainly a lot on the line.
This is the first direct challenge to Obergefell that the Supreme Court has formally been asked to review since the original decision a decade ago. Kim Davis's legal team refers to Justice Clarence Thomas's 2022 concurrence in Dobbs versus Jackson, which urged revisiting Obergefell and labels the marriage equality ruling a legal fiction in the petition. Lower courts have dismissed Davis's claims. A federal appeals court ruled earlier this year that the First Amendment does not shield her from personal liability when acting in an official capacity. The Supreme Court will decide this fall whether to grant a formal review of the case. If accepted, oral arguments could be scheduled for spring 2026, with a decision expected by June of next year. Even if Obergefell is overturned, existing same-sex marriages would likely remain valid under the Respect for Marriage Act of 2022. This mandates recognition of legally performed marriages across states and by the federal government. Current data shows that around 60% of Americans supported same-sex marriage in 2015, rising to about 70% in 2025, though support among Republicans has notably declined. We have to remember the strategy here. Republicans may avoid pushing an Obergefell ruling during election season to prevent energizing opposition turnout. Instead, they could plant the seeds now via legal cases, public statements, and platform language, then move after winning key races, using control of the White House and the Senate to shape the court for a favorable ruling. Let me know your thoughts.